Everyone, and welcome to this episode of Reboot. And today we're joined by Rob Allaway from DevComms. Rob, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and the business?
Yeah, thanks, Orla. Yeah, DevComms, we provide political and stakeholder engagement services to the development sector. So we aim to make the planning process more engaging and positive experience for everyone, and hopefully deliver better places.
Brilliant. So we've had a chat beforehand and know a little bit about how DevComms approached and adapted during lockdown. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what's been happening in your sector and then specifically for DevComms?
Yeah, sure. I mean, property has sort of kept on going. There was a blip immediately on lockdown. With the shutting down of lots of construction sites, that had a sort of a knock-on effect on planning as well. But I think everyone got to grips with that fairly quickly. So most of the pain, the worst pain, was just lasted a few weeks, and then since then, planning has sort of recovered pretty well, and property, and obviously the government's got a big focus on it as well to keep pushing it forwards. And I think as an industry, it's adapted to working sort of virtually very, very quickly. So property is, and it's different for different clients. Some people feel more pain than others, depending on exactly what sector you're in. But generally speaking, I think property has been fairly robust. For us, in terms of our work, obviously a lot of our work has been sort of face-to-face. In the past, building relationships, consulting with people, and obviously suddenly we couldn't do that anymore at the end of March. So we had to adapt fairly quickly and move a lot of our work online, which we were able to do pretty quickly. I mean, we were unwittingly, we were sort of lockdown ready last year. We had a review of our business and how we were working. So we had already adopted flexible working practices and a fairly large element of home working. So when we had to close our office in mid-March, 9 o'clock the following morning, everyone was on a Teams call working from home. So technologically, it was seamless. Great, more by luck than judgment, but there you go. And I think importantly as well, just culturally, it worked because everyone was used to working from home, being managed from home or whatever. So it wasn't a big shock for people as much as it could have been. And I think the cultural side of this is just as important as the technical side.
Yeah, so it sounded like you were well set up from a business, from a company perspective, but you touched on something, and actually we've heard it from some other people that we've spoke to as well, is that suddenly overnight you've gone from doing business and building relationships face to face to just not being able to do that anymore. So I guess, how have you adapted to and continued to grow your business without that kind of face to face engagement?
Yeah, I mean, from a business to business point of view, in terms of growing clients, it's easier to build relationships face to face and have that kind of chemistry. It just is. However, on the flip side of that, suddenly people are willing to give you more time. To have a sort of 20-minute, half an hour Zoom or Teams call, it wasn't a big deal. So we're able to have more of those conversations. Okay, they may have been higher quality face to face, but I think that more than sort of counteracted for the sort of restrictions we had. And I think we've been using things like LinkedIn and that sort of stuff much more than we ever have done. And it's kind of pushed us into doing that much more. So that's kind of been a benefit that's come out of it. Our business development process has actually sort of jumped forwards in terms of our sort of technical capability.
Right.
But the other side of our business, which is the bread and butter, what we actually do for a living, there was a lot of digital tools started to come to the surface sort of very quickly and being advertised on LinkedIn from companies that do what we do. A lot of them seem quite reactionary and weren't necessarily fit for purpose in terms of what you're trying to achieve in terms of communication strategy. But before lockdown, we'd already decided that actually we wanted to push, consultation engagement online a lot more than we had in the past, and try and get to a bigger audience to make it more representative and get greater participation. So we'd actually sort of had a consultation sort of platform spec'd up, in full before lockdown. Again, it was, more by luck than judgment, but trying to look forwards in terms of where the future lies for some of our work. So when lockdown came, it was very quick decision to say, right, we've got it spec'd up. Let's commission this to be built. And within a few weeks, we had a fully functioning, well thought out consultation platform rather than something that was knee jerk. So that's enabled us to do most of what we missed out on and more.
Right. Good. So it sounds like obviously you had all of this ideas already in a pipeline. And what was the catalyst? I mean, why? Because a lot of businesses we spoke to, they said, okay, yeah, they've embraced the technology or anything. And from our point of view, is quite interesting to hear about businesses having these ideas, but then obviously not embracing it fully, I suppose. So what was the catalyst for you guys to decide that it was the decision before the coronavirus? What made you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, DevComms been trading for 3.5 years now. So, 2.5 years in, we're thinking, we got established as a business. Where do we want to go long term? How do we want to be viewed in the marketplace? How do we want to be viewed by potential new staff or existing staff? What are we going to be doing 5 years from now? So we adopted a very future facing perspective last year, which we hadn't had before, and we started doing new things and trying new things, and great, it was sort of fortuitous timing to start doing all those things. So, but then, this March came around and things we had been looking at suddenly, right, okay, well, we need to do them, and we need to do more of them and actually move the company forwards more quickly than we had anticipated. And since then, we've been looking at even more things. How do we structure ourselves internally? And we're looking to sort of specialize more internally. We've got a head of digital now that deals with a lot of our digital stuff, which we didn't have previously. A lot of our processes that we had before, well, actually all going completely virtual for a few months meant that, a lot of our processes we did sort of fell off a cliff, and actually have we missed them? No. So we could do without those. So it's made our business sort of leaner and fitter, if you like, as well.
Yeah, and it is another common theme that we've heard over the last few weeks as well, is that the acceleration of the digital or the business transformation, right? You kind of know that maybe we should be looking at these things, but it's easy to push them out to the horizon. And now suddenly there's been a period of time where we've been forced to implement them and have immediately seen the benefit. So it doesn't sound like you'll go back to the old way of working. It's all about pushing forward, and actually you're looking how you can transform more, right, and innovate more, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The horizons come up upon us very, very quickly, and I think you can sort of bury your head in your hands and go, oh no, this is terrible what's happening, or you can just look around and see what's happening and say, well, how can we capitalize on this? What do we need to do? What positive action that we take? And also, when there's a lot of bad stuff happening in the world as well, your perspective can narrow just on the here and now. I think it's very important to keep a sort of longer term view of where we're going to be 12 months from now, where we're going to be 2 years from now, and what do we want it to look like, and how can we actually make a virtue of some of the stuff that's been happening and actually benefit the business rather than the other way around. So we're keeping a sort of a close eye on where we're going, not just the here and now.
And I think I was, just touching back to something that, you mentioned as well, in terms of maybe how others in the market had a very rapid, knee-jerk reaction, that because you'd already identified maybe, where you were trying to get to, that it was a more considered approach, right? So, I think what you're also saying about looking forward to the next 12, 24, 36 months is that actually you're responding and adapting to where you believe the market is going, rather than going into crisis mode, right? And just adapting to what you said, has been quite a short-lived impact in your sector, in the property sector, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always important not to lose your perspective on things. And so we decided, it was going to take us 8 weeks to build our Consult With You portal. Other people were coming out with other stuff in the meantime. We thought, no, we'll stick to our guns. We know that this is the right product to be bringing out. Let's stick with it. The world's not going to change massively in 8 weeks, and we did, and we've rolled that out, and that's been great. But some of our clients were also looking at us for advice of, well, what do we do? How do we get around this? How do we engage with people? And we said, not everything that's coming out on the market that kind of looks good on the face of it is appropriate for what you're doing. And there's two sides to this as well. What's your audience feeling at the moment? It was a very sensitive time. March, April, May, people were very worried. So you've got to think about, was it the right time to engage with people? Do you actually need to wait a little bit? Do you need to speak to people and see how they want to be engaged? Yeah. It's much more complex than just sort of rushing something out and forcing something on people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it is quite interesting in terms of the approach. I think the technology, like you say, has enabled you to just work remotely and just be able to involve your clients in a different way. But also, like you say, from a business development point of view, the issue was, shall I just push hard and trying to contact all these people, or how do we find a happy medium? But I think now we're on the next stage of this sort of recovery or pandemic. So you making the plan, how your clients and the bigger companies that you deal with, how they receive the portal? Is it working well for you? Do you think how does that pan out?
Yeah, it's working well. So we're using it on a number of our projects at the moment. So it is increasing participation. It enables us to sort of process feedback data much quicker than we were able to in the past. So everything we hoped it would be, it is delivering. But the other thing as well, one of the reasons we decided to do it is that there were products on the market before that could do some of what our portal's doing, but it was just cost prohibitive. And for the vast majority of the development projects we're working on, it just wouldn't have worked from an economic point of view, and that's one of the reasons why we developed our own one. But the world of planning has been sort of behind the curve in terms of online tools, and I think this is it's given planning and property a massive shove over the last few weeks. The government's just published a white paper on reforming the planning system. Again, there's a white paper every 5 years on reforming the planning sector, but this one seeks to make more sweeping changes, but it recognises that planning has been technologically stuck in the 20th century and just hasn't really moved forwards in pace with other sectors. So we want to make sure that we're well placed, not just to keep pace, but try and be at the lead of sort of the technological revolution as well in planning.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're fully embracing the digital innovation and bringing the right resources into the company to help you maximize that opportunity. Yeah,
absolutely. It's evolve or die, isn't it? Yeah. So we're embracing evolution. So there's a lot we're doing on the digital side, but I will still say that everything in life is a blend of more than one thing, isn't it, really? So there is still a place for face-to-face engagement going forward as well, and I think a lot of people have missed it over the last few months. But it's about making sure you're doing it in the right situations, where there's a really positive outcome. So, engagement where you're doing workshops where it's actually, high quality engagement, and then blending that with digital engagement where you're trying to get, good representation and a wide range of views and all that sort of thing. So it's coming up with the right sort of overall approach and strategy to these things.
Yeah. It's that balance, isn't it? And I think, again, as we learn more, I think we had to go to an extreme position for a few months, and now we're moving forward. This whole new normal is a overused phrase at the moment, but we're establishing, how will we work as things start to, loosen up, and what's the right balance between what we've learned and embraced from a digital perspective and the stuff that we know worked from the past in terms of that face-to-face relationship, trust building.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, things are in a state of flux at the moment. We're not in a, we're a new normal every month or two, just because it's been evolving. Things in February were very different to what they were in April. Things in April are very different to what they are now. And where we are now, and as we sit here now, is this going to be what it's like in 6 months or 12 months time? No, it'll change again. I don't know where the pendulum's going to end up. But I think you've got to be careful as well about tying yourself into decisions based on the short term. We had a discussion a month or two ago about, do we need our office anymore? Quite a few companies had done away with their offices. We decided, no, we'll keep it, actually, because whilst home working does work, it doesn't work for everyone. Some people like to get in the office, some people like to work at home. So we decided, well, we'll let people work predominantly where it suits them best, where they do the best work. And I think one of the key things over the next sort of year is maintaining a degree of flexibility. So you can sort of react to the changing world in terms of staff needs, client needs, and everyone else we engage.
And you're absolutely right. There is still, a lot of uncertainty, and even though your sector has absolutely bounced back and has received a lot of stimulus and support, who knows, as you say, what the next 6 or 12 months will look like. So agility is one of those. It's going to be another buzzword, I think, for the next 12 months or so, isn't it? That flexibility or agility to adapt to changing situations.
No, it is absolutely. And we're regularly having conversations internally. What's our position now? What's our advice now to our clients? Because it's different from what it was 2 months ago. So I think you just need to keep alive to what's happening in the world and sort of how you're approaching it. And as I said, what's happening now isn't what's going to be happening tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I'm going to throw this at you, Rob, and it's that lovely question. Steph is laughing because he knows what's coming. No, it's not a trick question. It's literally, is there anything that now that you wish you had known, a couple of months ago, or is there something that you would have maybe done differently?
That is a good question. Things that we've been doing, I think we were kind of planning to do because we were in the right mindset to be sort of forward looking and how do we change the way that we work. I think we would have accelerated it a lot quicker. So we would have been even more ready. Again, across the board, both from how we deliver our projects to how we develop business with clients, to how we accommodate the needs of our staff. They're the sort of the three main sectors. And I think we're moving in the right direction with all of those. I think we're our head was in the right place, but if we'd been moving on this a year or two ago, we'd be even better well equipped. So but sometimes you need a push, don't you?
Absolutely. You were absolutely on the right path. It's given you the push, the momentum to accelerate.
No, exactly. So no regrets. We were better placed than a lot of other people to cope with what was happening, and you should never look backwards, really, should you? So it's just,
it's all about it. It's only learnings to take forward into the future, and how you cope and respond and adapt in the future, right?
No, absolutely right. And there's a load of positive stuff that's come out of it that will make us, we'll be a much better company in 12 months' time than we are now. I'd say we're a much better company now than we were 12 months ago. So, as long as we continue on that trajectory.
Super. Well, listen, thank you so much, for taking the time.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob. Bye.
Thank you very much.